Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh, Dickey here. Welcome back to another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Now, today's episode will be a follow-up to the previous episode where I gave you my opinion on people who stare at traffic accidents and why I think they need to stop it and why it annoys me. I will list it and link it in the description, so go check that out. But before we get into the bulk of this episode, which will contain the story of one of the worst car rides I have ever been on, if not the worst car ride that I've ever been on. So before we get into the bulk of today's episode, I just want to get a little housekeeping out of the way. You can find the Beats and Speaks podcast on YouTube under Beats and Speaks. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. You can also find the Beats and Speaks podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, my official website, LeighTDickey.com, and everywhere else fine podcasts are available. Now, if you like the equipment that I use on this channel, you can buy the equipment that I use by using the Amazon affiliate links that are listed and linked in the description. That means I will get a small commission, Amazon will kick back a little something something, and I'll get to either buy more equipment to use on this channel and review for you guys, because I do have more equipment reviews coming. Those are in the works. And that means you guys are supporting me, supporting this channel, and it goes a long way in me creating content to entertain you guys. So if you like the equipment and you like what I'm doing, please support the channel by clicking the Amazon links and buying the equipment that I use. If you like it, listed and linked, all those links are in the description below, so check that stuff out as well. But that's all I wanted to tell you for right now. Let's get into this episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast, the story of one of the worst car rides I have ever been on, possibly the car ride from hell. So, like I said in the previous episode, I was in Michigan last month, and it was just for a quick weekend visit. I just went to visit family. But the thing is, normally somebody from my family, from my bloodline, that lives out in Michigan would come across the border to pick up my mother and I, or just me. But in this case, this trip, I went with my mother, and normally a family member would come pick us up, but they were all busy doing other important things, so they arranged for a car service to pick us up at the train station in Windsor, because that's how we got there. We went from here, Toronto, to Windsor, and then across the border through Detroit to the suburbs of Michigan, right? That's basically the route that we took. Down I-96 north, then down through Michigan till we finally got to our destination maybe 3 hours later. So, normally family would come pick us up. They couldn't. They were dealing with other important things. They arranged for a car service to come get us and take us to our destination. We get to the train station in Windsor, my mother and I. We meet the driver of from this company that is contracted to my family, that's going to take us from the train station in Windsor to our destination in suburbia Michigan. It's somewhere in the suburbs of Michigan, because my uncle and aunt who live down in that part of Michigan are probably a couple hours out of Detroit. So we meet the driver, make our introductions, we load our bags. He helps us load our bags. Really helpful, really friendly, and that's not a bad thing. You like friendly people. I would hope that you would. Most people would like other friendly people. And he's a really friendly guy. Introduces himself, shakes my hand. I get in the back. My mother's sitting in the front, and he's driving. We get all our bags in the car. We start going, right? But almost as soon as I meet this guy, I am getting in the back seat of this brand new SUV. I can't remember the make and model, but it's a 2018 something or other. And here's the thing. I remember the name of the company that he works for. I remember his name. I'm not going to tell you names of the company or the guy's name because I don't want to bury somebody in that way. I don't want any heat off of this. But this is just a story of probably one of the worst car rides I've ever been on, and it has come for courtesy of this guy and the company that he works for. And I just want to throw this out there. I'm not blaming my family. It's not their fault that we got stuck with this guy and this company, but it was, I just felt uncomfortable and uneasy the whole way down there. But I'll get into that in just a second. So, we get in the car, we've got our bags loaded, and we're heading towards the border. No problem, no issue. We get to the border, and it's, hi, do you guys know each other? No, he just works for a car company that is contracted, and he's going to take us to our destination, which happens to be in Michigan. And to get there, we have to get across the border. This is basically what we're telling the customs people to get into the States. So we hand them our passports, blah, blah, and blah, blah, blah. How long are you going to be here? Where are you coming from? Okay, great. Have a good trip, and see you on the way back. No problem, right? We get into Michigan. We get past the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, and it all seemed to go downhill from there. Now, we all have the address of the place that we're going to. Like, my uncles and aunts have given me the address of the place that we have to get to, of our destination. So, I give it to this guy, my mother gives it to this guy, the driver I mean, and the driver has it because the company printed him out sort of an itinerary or a dossier or whatever you want to call it of where he has to drop us off, right? So this should be simple. You ... into a GPS, whether it's on your phone or a physical GPS that's in your car, and we proceed to highlighted route, listening to somebody with either a British, Australian, or American accent, computerized on the other end, telling you where to turn and or how many miles it is until your destination, simply because it is an American company and it's an American car and they do things by miles and not kilometers like we do up here in Canada. So we get past the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, no issue, right? Once we get past that tunnel, everything just sort of turned a corner, and I don't mean in a good way. Okay? My mom's in the front seat, she's riding shotgun, I'm in the back, I'm behind her, and the driver obviously is driving, right? So, we 2 or 3 times, my mother asks him how much it costs. Like, how much is this trip? What's it going to cost? You know, granted, my family that said they were going to take care of it and pay for it and everything. But my mom, just, you know, being a mother, and that's her thing, it's like, how much does this cost? The driver, 3 times, tried to change the price on us. First, he started at, like, $260. Then it went to $294. And then finally, I think he said it was something like $394. And I'm in the back seat. I'm starting to really, like, I'm Roger Rabbit with the shave and the haircut 2 bits. I'm losing it internally. I don't want to, you know, throw a hissy fit in the back of this guy's car, considering I don't know the guy and he might actually drop me off on the side of the road. So, and I'm in Michigan, and although, you know, I've spent many summers and winters, and I've had many trips to Michigan to visit family, because that's where my dad is actually from, you know, even though I can ask for directions, I'm an adult, like, I can figure this out, or at least attempt to figure this out. I'm pretty much in a state that I don't know all that well. I'm in a city that I don't know all that well. I'm only there for 2 days, if not less, and I just want to get to the destination and, you know, get to see my family, get this trip started and just get to doing what I'm there to do, right? And that's visit family, have a good time. I don't want to have any drama because this isn't high school. I'm not in high school anymore, and I'm getting too old for this stuff, right? So we asked him 3 times, how much is this going to cost? Even though my family said that they were going to pay for it, no problem. And he just gives us 3 prices. He changes the price 3 times on us, and I'm fuming in the back seat. It's $260, $294, $394, and a partridge and a pear tree, $1 bob, one of those things, okay? I'm losing it internally. I don't want to throw a hissy fit in this guy's car, like I said, so I'm just, okay, keep it together, bite your tongue, sit on your hands, anything to not blow my top, right? And this guy, probably about 7 or 8 times, kept fooling with his GPS the entire way down there to our destination. And it was like, okay, changing route. Okay, proceed to highlighted route. Like, what are we doing? I mean, aside from that traffic accident on I-96, I think that's what we took after getting into Michigan. It was basically I-96 all the way down. Aside from that traffic accident and it being rush hour, this was just one of those things, when you start fooling with your GPS, even though my mother and I have given this guy the address to the destination and the major intersection that it's at, plus, like, the company's given him the layout, like the address, the name of the place, and everything he needs to basically get us there. It's 7, 8 times he's fooling with his GPS, changing the route, and I am fuming internally, but because I don't want to lose my temper in the back seat of this guy's car. It's a company car, and I'm in this car with my mother, and a stranger is basically driving the car. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna throw my hands up, I'm gonna sit on my hands, I'm gonna bite my tongue, I'm gonna sing the Jeffersons theme song, moving on up, and I'm trying to keep myself as calm as humanly possible, because if I say something that he doesn't like, then I'm probably gonna end up on the side of the road having to stick my thumb out and give somebody else the address and hope that I get to this place on time. So just 7, 8 times this guy's fooling with his GPS, and it's the middle of rush hour because we left midday from Toronto. I mean, the earlier train that left from Toronto left at about 6:45 in the morning, and my mother basically vetoed that one. We're not doing that. We're taking the midday because that would probably be better. But we, after about 4.5 hours on a train, then another 2-3 hours in the car, it was just, I was happy to get out of the car, right? Just to stretch my legs and see my family and other things. But, with this guy fooling with his GPS, I'm beside myself internally. And I asked him periodically throughout the trip, because I treat every ride that, when I'm with a stranger who's driving, whether it's a cab driver or any sort of car service driver, like a limo driver or, like this private luxury car service company, I'm not a very talkative guy. Like, I tend to feel it out, right? And with this guy, I just didn't get that vibe, right? Like some guys are really friendly, but with this guy, he was really socially awkward and a bit socially inept, and I just sort of went, you know what? I don't want to really engage this guy. There were a few times, because, it's a 2 or 3 hour trip. We did have a few conversations, or like a little conversation. I asked, well, where are you from, right? Because he had a really thick, it almost sounded like a French accent. And I think he told me he was half Lebanese and half Greek, which was cool. That's nice, but I couldn't get over the fact that he had a really thick, almost like French, Quebec-ish accent, because he actually asked me, or he told me to guess where he was from. And I said, I threw out something like, man, I'd have to guess Quebec, because you have a really thick, what almost sounds like French Canadian, Quebecish, or Quebecois accent. But he didn't actually tell me if he lived in the States or whether he lived in Canada. Or if he did, I don't remember. And, basically he's half Lebanese, half Greek, which is fine, but I didn't really get that, like, a comfortable vibe off the guy, and I didn't want to, like, really engage. And he kept asking, like, what type of music you listen to? I'm like, man, don't worry about it. Just keep on driving, because, like, I don't need you to basically keep turning the dial to try and make me happy on this car ride. Like, because he's got a satellite radio in the front, right? So it's just like, no, it's fine, man. Just get us to our destination as quickly as you possibly can. And after fooling with his GPS, I'm fuming. You know what I mean? And, the changing the price was another thing where he went with 3 separate price points for this trip. And I was just like, what is this guy's deal? What's going on? I'm in a stranger's car. I'm a stranger in a strange land, basically. Even though I've been to Michigan several times to visit family in my entire lifetime, this is weird. Because if I don't want to end up on the side of the road somewhere having to stick my thumb out and asking somebody for a jump and or a ride to the destination I have to get to. Right? That's kind of awkward, weird, scary. All that thrown into one, even though I may seem like a guy that has it all together and I'm completely with it, there are still certain things that scare me, like stranger in a strange land. I'm in a country that, yes, I know somewhat well. I'm in a state that I know I have connections in because I have family there. But in terms of, like, let's not end up on the side of the highway having to stick my thumb out. That was just one of those things. We just not want to do that. So we finally get to our destination, right? Which was fantastic because first people I saw were a couple of my cousins right inside this place. And I couldn't have been happier because I was like, oh, good. People I know that are outside of my mother, these are people that I know. Right? And I was happy. I was out of the car. I was away from that driver because he just made me really uncomfortable. And I was able to stretch my legs, take a breath of fresh air. And I, went inside this place, greeted my cousins, found the people that I knew, and I was happy. You know what I mean? For like there was a brief period where I could just let out a sigh of relief, right? Because we were where we were supposed to be, although it took forever because the changing of the routes and the having to maneuver around rush hour. And I know rush hour is rush hour everywhere you go, but when you start fooling with your GPS, and I've said this several times, and you have the address because everybody in the car has told you, the company told you. My relatives who arranged this pickup and drop off have told you the address to this place, and you're still fooling with your GPS trying to figure it all out. I get a little worried. I get a little scared. I get weary of everything around me at that point because I don't know what to think. I don't want to end up on the side of the road. I don't want to stick my thumb out. I just want to get to where I need to get to in one piece, on time, hopefully with some time to spare, pardon me. And I just want to do what I went there to do, right? Which was visit family and catch up and, see how everybody was. So, here's another thing. Like I said earlier in this episode, he was changing the price on us 3 times, right? And I said that my family basically arranged this whole thing and they offered to pay for it. They said that they'd take care of it. No problem. So, he tells my uncles and my aunts the same story. I don't know how many times he changed the story or how many times he changed the price on them, and this is the greatest thing about my bloodline, at least, my dad's brothers and that side of the family anyway. I have really good genes, and I mean DNA. My family is incredibly smart. They are all incredibly bright. Okay? So, my uncles, my dad's older brother and his younger brother, they do the conversion, right? Because you're going from Canadian to American and whatever. And this guy's the 260, 294, 394. And they were all American amounts, right? That he gave me, that he gave my aunts and uncles when we got to our destination. And I was just, there's something wrong about it with this. You know what I mean? I was not happy. I had a really uneasy feeling. So my uncles did the conversion and was like, nah, man, this is like $234, $235, something like that. It was like $230. And whatever, it gets paid. He leaves. We load the luggage into, I think, my uncle's car, and we just go into this place, catch up with the family and see how everybody is, because we hadn't seen them. I probably hadn't been to Michigan in maybe 4.5 years, and I hadn't seen any of them because they all live in the States. Like, we're the only ones that live up here for the most part, live up here in Canada, and it was cool to catch up and see how everybody was and whatever, right? Just, I hadn't seen them in 4 or 5 years, and it was cool. But, I mean, that's probably one of the worst car rides I've ever been on. It made me so uncomfortable, so uneasy. And the fact that he kept fooling with his GPS and changing the price, I didn't know what to think. I was scared, for one thing, even though, like I've said, I've been to Michigan countless times in my lifetime, because that's where my dad is from, and that's where most of his family still lives to this day. And I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to end up a stranger. I'm already a stranger in a strange land, even though I have connections in the state of Michigan. But I don't want to end up on the side of the road having to stick my thumb out, hoping some guy picks me up, and I give him the address to this place that I have to get to, and hoping that someone else would probably drop me off there. I don't want to take that chance, right? But that's the story of what I would consider probably a ride from hell, or the car ride from hell. Is probably one of the worst car rides that I have ever been on. But that's it for this episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. All the links to follow me on social media are in the description below. You can buy the equipment that I use by using the Amazon affiliate links, also listed and linked in the description. Listen to the previous episode to get caught up before you listen to this one, or either way you can do it vice versa too. That is listed and linked in the description as well. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Remember, you can also find the Beats and Speaks podcast on YouTube by searching Beats and Speaks. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. You can find the Beats and Speaks podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, my official website, LeighTDickey.com. And that's it for me. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all later. For now, Leigh Dickey for Beats and Speaks, LeighTDickey.com, the Beats and Speaks podcast, Leigh Dickey Style, and everything else I might come up with. Signing off. Peace.